Good day everyone, I am Jake Olympus Fagador. Today I am going to report about Institutional Correction Module 4. So these are the Module 4 coverage. First, Institutional Based Correction, Structures, Management, and Standards. And Programs and Services in the Philippines. Two system-based approaches to correction. The Bureau of Corrections in the Republic Act 10575, Custody, Security and Control of Prisoners, Care and Treatment of Prisoners, Release of Prisoners Good Conduct Time Allowance, Prohibited Acts Subject to Disciplinary Actions, BGMP, in the RA 6975, Republic Act 9263, Treatment of Special Needs or Unusual Offenders, Emergency Plans, Movements or Transfers of Prisoners or Detainees, Privileges of Detainees and Sentenced Prisoners, the Regional Rehabilitation Centers for Youth, and the Child and Youth Welfare Code, the Death Row, and the Rule of the Writ of Amparo. And next, we will going to tackle about institutional-based correction. The Philippines correction system is composed of the institutions in the government, civil society, and the business sector involved in the confinement, correction, and restoration of persons charged for and or convicted of delinquent acts or crimes. The public sector formulates sound policies and rules on correction, penology and jail management, rehabilitation and restoration. All prisons or penitentiaries, jails and detention centers are under the direct control and supervision of the government. The government thus plays a dominant role in the correction and rehabilitation of offenders. So, correction as a component of criminal justice system. So, the term correction, corrections, or uncorrectional are words describing a variety of functions typically carried out by government agencies involving the punishment, treatment, and supervision of persons who have been convicted of crimes. So, correction is a branch of criminal justice concerned with the custody, supervision, rehabilitation, and criminal offender. And correctional administration, the study and practice of the system management of jails, all prisons and other institutions concerned with the custody, treatment, and rehabilitation of criminal offenders. And the social structure of correctional institution. So every social grouping develops pattern of inter relationships that have significance for the members of those groupings. So these patterns are sometimes called the social structures. And such structures exist in every assemblage of person which more than temporary. So the social structure of an institution which handles more than 100 boys in the special capacity and has every definite effect on the population of that institution. One occasion this effect may be negative. In fact, there are many important ways in which this social structure may clearly create problems which can be detected through an analysis of the culture that patterns that develop among the boys who reside in such institution or reformatories, state industrials, school, and orphanage. And next, the management of correctional institution. A review of popular industrial models of management indicates that there are only partially applicable to corrections management. Unique features of institution such as their bureaucracy, finances, and inmates and must be considered in developing a management style. So the managerial models examined include management by objectives, organizational development, participatory management, the contingency model of management, and the traditional autocracy. The process of management, according to most models, requires the development of objectives. The text looks at defining objectives in concerning institution in view of its main custody and treatment aims. Unlike business sectors, public correctional institution consider the input of interested groups, formal authorities, specialists in the field, the public, and the staff and inmates in formulating of objectives. Other managerial aspects to consider in developing a style include a manager's power to operate the institution, the kinds of power that can be retained or delegated by manager, and the control of power through the control of information. So especially managerial problems involving employees of operation industries, where both inmates and staff are considered in terms of prison settings and constraint. These problems involve maximization of production, staff development, working condition, and friends. And next, the programs and services of the Philippines. Number 1, the Pantawid Pamilyang Pilipino Program or 4Ps, in a human development measure of the national government that provides conditional cash grants to the poorest of the poor to improve the health, nutrition, and education of children age 0 to 18. It is patterned after the conditional cash transfer or CCT schemes in Latin American and African countries which have lifted millions of people around the world from poverty. So, the Department of Social Welfare and Development or DSWD is the lead government agency of the 4Ps. So, 4Ps objectives. So, the 4Ps has dual objective as the flagship poverty alleviation program of Aquino administration, social assistance, giving monetary support to extremely poor families to respond their immediate needs, and social development. Breaking the integrational poverty cycle by investigating the health and education of the poor children through programs such as health checkups for pregnant women and children aged to 0 to 5, deworming of school children aged to 6 to 14, enrollment of children in daycare, and elementary and secondary schools, and family development sessions. The 4Ps also helps the Philippine government to fulfill its commitment to the Millennium Development Goals or MDGs, specifically the eradicating extreme poverty and hunger, in achieving universal primary education, in promoting gender equality, in reducing child mortality, and improving maternal health care. And next, number 2, kapit bisig laban sa kahirapan, comprehensive integrated delivery of social services, kapangyarihan at kaunlaran sa barangay or the Kalahi SIDS. So, Kalahi SIDS, it is the community-driven flagship development project of the government of the Philippines which aims to empower communities through their direct participation in community project that aims to reduce poverty. It aims to provide interventions on assets reforms, human development, services capacity building, and participation on governance. So, objectives. Through the project, it is expected that the forest communities will be empowered, local governance will be improved, poverty will be alleviated, and transparency will be a way of life. And number 3, National Household Targeting System for Poverty Reduction. So what is NHTSPR? So it is an information management system that identifies who are where the 4 household are in the regions and in the whole Philippines. So a system for generating and establishing socioeconomic database of 4 household. So why do we need the National Household Targeting System? So first, it ensures that the limited resources of the different social protection agencies reach the poorest of the poor. And second, it improved coordination among social protection agencies. And third, unify criteria for the selection of the forest population. So, what are the objectives of NHTSPR? First, to formulate and unify criteria for the identification of the forest population through scientific means, and second, to establish an objective and transparent database of socioeconomic variables of household. Use the database in identifying beneficiaries of social protection programs of the government and other stakeholders, and to reduce leakage and inclusions of the non-poor and undercoverage or exclusion of the poor in availing social protection programs and services, and who will be benefit from this program. So, other than the actual four themselves, the database on the four households will benefit government and other stakeholders engaged in the delivery of social protection programs and projects in having focus targeting. The stakeholder as data users can access and utilize data generated from NHPR. And next, number 4, Sustainable Livelihood Program. The Sustainable Livelihood Program, or SLP, is a community-based capacity building program that seeks to improve the program participants' socioeconomic status. SLP is implemented through a two-track program. The first track, the Micro Enterprise Development Track, support micro enterprises in becoming organizationally and economically viable. Meanwhile, the second track, the Employment Facilitation Track, assists participants to access appropriate employment opportunities. So, what are the objectives of Sustainable Livelihood Program? So, the general objectives, so to improve socioeconomic capacity of the participants through a micro-enterprise development and develop facilitation program that shall ultimately provide a sustainable income source. And the specific objectives, first, to facilitate opportunities for micro-enterprise development through social preparation and capacity building and resource provision activities. Second, to facilitate the leakage to employment opportunities through social preparation, capacity building, and labor market networking. And third, to link the participants to support service and programs of different partners, including but not limited to NGOs, CSOs, and private institutions. And fourth, to improve the beneficiaries' capacity to avail of the products and services of different financing institutions, including but not limited to credit, savings, and microinsurance, to promote community and involvement and social responsibility among the participants through activities that builds the relationship with the community, their co-participants, their families, and themselves. And 5, the supplementary feeding program. So what is supplementary feeding program? So the supplementary feeding program is a provision of food in addition to the regular meals to currently enrolled daycare center children. This is the form of hot meals as recommended by Food and Nutrition Research Institute, or FNRI, that served during break time of children in daycare center. So who are the beneficiaries? Beneficiaries of the program are the 3-year-old and 4-year-old children not in the Department of Education, preschool children, but in daycare. So this program is implemented in response to the 2006 Family Income and Expenditure Survey, or FIES, conducted by the National Statistics Office, which showed not 11% of the Filipino families had income but cannot buy the food needed by family members for nutritional well-being and health. So these families can be considered as hungry and food poor. Along with the Pantawid Pamilyang Pilipino program, kalahi seats or kapit bisig laban sa kahirapan, comprehensive and integrated delivery of social services and sustainable livelihood program, supplementary feeding seeks to achieve Millennium Development Goal number 1, which is eradicating extreme poverty and hunger. So this program is implemented and so as what I have said, it is to eradicate the extreme poverty of and hunger of the Filipino people. And next, number 6, social pension. The social pension for indigent senior citizen is one of the provisions stated in Section 5 Republic Act 1994. Otherwise, known as the Expanded Senior Citizen Act of 2010. So, objectives, social pension is an additional government assistance in the amount of 500 pesos only. Monthly stipend to augment the daily subsistence and other medical needs of indigent senior citizens, subject to a review every 2 years by Congress in consultation with the SWD. Who are eligible? So, as defined in Section 3 Republic Act 1994, indigent senior citizens refers to any elderly who is frail, sickly, or with disability, and B, without pension, and C, no permanent source of income, compensation, or financial assistance from relatives to support his or her basic needs. So, next, let's go to the residential care facilities. Number 1 is Home for Girls. Home for Girls, a temporary residential facility, is an alternative form of family care providing 24 hours group living on a temporary basis to girls below 18 with special needs, where needs cannot be adequately met by their own families and relatives over a period of time. So, residential services provide opportunity for the resident to be adequately cared for temporarily under a controlled therapeutic environment with the end view of reunion or integration with their family and the community to lead a normal life. So, residential home for girls vision, a safe and nurturing environment for children victims of abuse, where they are provided psychosocial interventions to overcome their trauma and prepare them for integration with their families. And mission, to provide comprehensive and needs-based approach towards rehabilitation of children, where they are provided varied opportunities to maximize and develop their potentials and regain their dignity and self-worth. So, the goal, the center aims to enable girls with special needs and are in especially difficult circumstances resolve their problems and restored to normal functioning, hence rejoining their self-worth and dignity as a person through provision of protective and rehabilitative programs and services, thus making them ready towards family reunification and community reintegration. Next is number 2, Regional Center for Women. A residential center for abused women and their children established in cooperation with the Congressional Spouses Foundation and Incorporation. So, the center caters to women and children who were victims of rape, incest, involuntary prostitution, and illegal recruitment, domestic violence, and abandonment. So, service offered are interventions that seek to restore or develop social functioning of the residents from admission to disgrace and preparation for family reunification and community reintegration and undertaken. Case management, a multidisciplinary team utilizing social work interventions which include but not limited to counseling, casework, group work, family or group, individual, therapy, etc. is mobilized. So residential care and rehabilitation program, an alternative form of family care and providing 24 hours group living in a temporary basis to individuals whose needs cannot be adequately met by their own families and relatives over a period of time. And number 3, the Regional Rehabilitation Center for Youth. A Regional Rehabilitation Center for Youth, or RRCY, is a residential facility for children in conflict with the law, or the juvenile. That is what we call juvenile. So, with the ages of 15 years old and below 18. So the centers aims to provide the residents that the infants rather of a home for their reformation. So RRCY vision to enable the youth offenders restore their social functioning and live a normal life through reintegration or reunification to their family or relatives and become productive members of the community and society. Mission to provide social protection to disadvantaged youth ages 9-year-old and below 18 who needs appropriate care, guidance, supervision, rehabilitation, and development through alternative form of parental care with coordination with the government units, social works, and other stakeholders. And goals to provide 24 hours individual and group care treatment, rehabilitation service under the guidance or of trained staff where residents are cared for a structured therapeutic environment. And number 4, recovery and reintegration program for trafficked person. So the Department of Social Welfare and Development is mandated to provide social protection to trafficked persons. This was implemented to scale up the programs and services and deliver better interventions to trafficked persons at various levels. So the to strengthen existing programs for better traffic victims, other families, and support and to and support capacity building activities for service providers. So objectives to ensure better programs access and intensify the delivery of comprehensive services for trafficked persons. Number 2, to undertake capacity building activities that will enhance the skills of social workers and other service providers in providing adequate service to trafficked persons. And 3, ensure the delivery of comprehensive recovery and reintegration services for trafficked persons. And 4, utilize sectoral structures and mechanisms in the delivery of services that will enhance the psychosocial and economic needs of trafficked persons. Number 5, intensify the advocacy campaign against trafficking persons to increase people's awareness or issues of preventing them from becoming potential victims. And 6, upgrade or repair 2 shelters each in Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao. And number 5, assistance to individuals, families in crisis situation, or the EICS. The assistance to individual in crisis situations in a social safety net or stopgap mechanism to support the recovery of individual and families for an unexpected crisis such as illness or death of a family member. Another crisis solution. So the Crisis Intervention Unit is a special unit operating as an action center to immediately respond to cases of individual and families in crisis situation. It provides integrated service such as immediate rescue and protection provision of direct financial and material assistance, augmentation during disaster and referrals for immediate medical, legal, psychosocial services. The CIU also operates through the social welfare and development teams in the different provincial cluster in the region, which accept target clienteles categories as their work-in, rescued, and referred clients, such as individual and families. No adequate means to provide for medical transformation, burial, and other immediate needs, abandoned, abused, and exploited adults and children. And number 6, adoption. About the service, a socio-legal process of providing a permanent family to a child whose parents have voluntarily or involuntarily relinquished parental authority over the child who can avail of the service. So, any Filipino citizen or alien residing in the Philippines who has the following qualification. Number 1, of legal age. Number 2, at least 16-year-old older than adoptee, except when the adoptee is the biological parents or sibling of the adoptee, of the spouse or adoptee's parents. And number 3, has the capacity to act and assume all the rights and duties incident to the exercise of the parental authority. Number 4, is of good moral character and has not been convicted of any crime involving moral turpitude. And number 5, in a position to support, educate, and care of his or her legitimate and illegitimate children, and the child to be adopted has undergone pre-adopted services. Number 7, unconditional cash transfer program or the UCT. So the unconditional cash transfer program is the biggest tax reformation mitigation program under the TRAIN law. It seeks to provide cash grants to poor households and individuals who may not be benefit from lower income taxes rates but not be adversely affected by rising prices. UCT provides qualified beneficiaries cash grants computed at 200 pesos per month for the first year of implementation and 300 pesos per month for each succeeding year of implementation. The UCT shall be implemented nationwide. The following shall qualify as UCT beneficiaries. Letter A, household in the Pantawid Pamilyang Pilipino programs or 4-piece household. And letter B, beneficiaries of the Social Pension Program pursuant to Republic Act number 7432, otherwise known as the Senior Citizen Act, is amended by Republic Act number 9257 and 1994, social pension beneficiaries, and letter C, other for household in the database of the correction household, targeting system for poverty reduction, provide that they fall into first 7 deciles ranked according to the predicted income. So beneficiaries of the project are selected based on the first list from National Statistics and Coordination Board or the NSCB of the forest provinces. Using the municipal poverty mapping, the forest 25% of municipalities in the province are selected through a multi-stakeholders provincial forum. Once selected, all barangays of the chosen municipality are qualified to benefit from the project grant. The total amount is derived from computing the number of barangays times an estimated 300,000 allocations per barangay. And now, let's move on to the two system-based approaches to correction. Number 1, the institutional-based correction practices. So, rehabilitation or correctional programs takes place inside correctional facilities or institutions such as national penitentiaries and jails. Offenders found guilty and sentenced by the court or confinement are categorized based on the length and of sentence. So, institutional-based correction is where the offenders or of the crime will be correct or rehabilitate inside the penitentiary or the jail, as long as in this institution he will serve his sentence that given to the judge or the court. And number 2, non-institutional or community-based correction. So is implemented in the three tied bases, three departments of the executive branch of the government. There are DOJ, the ILG, and the DSWD. So non-institutional or community-based correction, it is where the offenders will be corrected. So not in the outside in the institution. So the offender will be corrected or serve his sentence in the community. So the Department of Justice or DOJ take care of the national. Department of Interior and Local Government or the ILG take care of the municipality or city and provincial prisoners. Department of Social Welfare and Development or the SWD take care of the youthful offender. Under the DOJ are the following offices are tasked to carry the mission of correction. The Bureau of Correction or BUCOR, Rehabilitation of Prisoners, and Board of Pardons and Parole recommends to the President to the prisoners who is qualified for parole, pardon, or other forms of executive clemency. Parole Provision Administration, so exercise general supervision over all parolees and probationers and promote the corrections and rehabilitation of offenders outside the prison or institution. So those are the offices under the DOJ. The Bureau of Correction, Republic Act number 10575, an act strengthening the Bureau of Corrections or BUCOR and providing funds therefore. Republic Act number 10575, be it enacted by the Senate and House of Representatives of the Philippines in Congress assembled. Section 1, short title. This act shall be known as the Bureau of Correction Act of 2013. Section 2, declaration of policy is the policy of the state to promote the general welfare and safeguard and the basic rights of the every prisoners incarcerated in our national penitentiary. It also recognizes the responsibility of the state to strengthen government capability to aim towards the institutionalization of highly efficient and competent correctional services. Towards this end, the state shall provide the modernization, professionalization, and restructuring the Bureau of Corrections of BUCOR by upgrading its facilities, increasing the number of its personnel, upgrading the level of qualifications of their personnel, and standardizing their base pay, retirement, and other benefits, making it far with that of the Bureau of Jail Management and Phenology. And next, custody, security, and control of prisoners. When someone is incarcerated, it means that the person is detained in a correctional facility. There are several different types of correctional facilities in the United States. A correctional facility is any institution or building used to detain people who are in the lawful custody of the government. People can be the lawful custody of the government for many different reasons. The reason for a person's custody determines the type of correctional facility in which that the person is detained. So let's look at a few examples starting with jails. Jails are temporary holding facilities operated on the local level, usually by the county government. Jails hold people who have been recently arrested and waiting to be charged with a crime and are awaiting trial, convicted of a lower level crime, and serving a sentence shorter than 1 year. Jails are different than prisons. So prisons are correctional facilities used for long-term confinement and usually run by the state. Prisons hold people who have been convicted of crimes and are serving sentences typically longer than 1 year and up to life in prison. And federal penitentiaries are correctional facilities used for long-term confinement and usually run by federal government. And federal penitentiaries and federal prisons, they hold people who have been convicted of federal crimes and are serving sentences. So note that correctional facilities also vary by security level. The federal government uses a number scale to label prisons on a scale from 1 to 6, with level 6 representing the highest security level. Most state prison system label their correctional facilities as minimum, medium, or maximum security. And next is care and treatment of prisoners. All prisoners shall be treated with respect due to their inherent dignity and value as human beings. There shall be no discrimination on the grounds, race, color, sex, language, religion, political or other opinion, national or social origin, property, birth, or other status. It is, however, desirable to respect the religious beliefs and cultural precepts of the group to which prisoner belong, whichever local code so require. Next, the responsibility of prisons of for the custody of prisoners and for the protection of society against crime shall be discharged in keeping with the state's and other social objectives and its fundamental responsibilities for promoting the well-being and development of all members of society. And next, except for those limitations that are demonstrably necessitated by the fact of incarceration, all prisoners shall retain the human rights and fundamental freedom sets the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, and where the state concerned as the party in the International Convention on Economic, Social, and Cultural Rights and the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, an optional protocol thereto, as well as such rights as are set out in the other United Nations covenants. All prisoners have the right to take part in cultural activities and education aimed at full development of human personality. Efforts addressed to the abolition of solitary confinement as a punishment or to restriction of its use to be undertaken and encouraged. Conditions shall be created enabling prisoners to undertake meaningful remunerated employment which will facilitate their integration into the country labor market and permit them to contribute to their own financial support and to that of their families. So prisoners shall have access to the health services available in the country without discrimination on the grounds of their legal situation. With the participation and help of the community and social institution and with due regard to the interests of victims, favorable conditions shall be created for the integration of ex-prisoner into society under the best possible conditions. So the above principles shall be applied impartially. And next, release of prisoners good conduct time allowance or GCTA. So what is good conduct time allowance? Good conduct time allowance or GCTA is a sentence reduction provision afforded prisoners who show good behavior. It has been in existence since 1906 Act 1533, provided that the diminutions of sentences imposed upon prisoners in consideration of good conduct and diligence. Citing 1908 decisions, the SC said that the law served as a double purpose to encourage the convict of an effort to reform and educe habits of industry and good conduct, the person behind one sentence and aid to discipline various jails and penitentiaries. 24 years later, the RPC, a legal code governing crimes under punishment was signed into a law incorporating good conduct time allowances for any prisoners in any penal institution. And next, BGMP in the Republic Act 6975 is one of the five pillars of the criminal justice system. The BGMP was created to address growing concern of jail management and penology problem. Primarily, its clients are detainees accused before a court who are temporarily confined in the such jail while undergoing investigation awaiting final judgment, and those who are serving sentence promulgated by the court 3 years and below. As provided for under RA number 1675, the jail is mandated to take operational and administrative control over all city, district, and municipal jails. The Bureau has four major areas of rehabilitation program, namely livelihood projects, educational and vocational training, recreational sports, and the religious spiritual activities. These are continuously implemented to eliminate the offender pattern of criminal behavior and to reform them to become law-abiding and productive citizens. Although the workplace of the jail bureau is confined inside the portals of the jail, Safeguard PDL, nonetheless, the bureau has an inherent function of informing the public of jail operations and other matters. Concerning the correctional pillars of the Philippines, coincidentally being a new and growing bureau, BGMP aims to keep the public abreast of information regarding jail management and penology. And next is Republic Act number 1675, December 13, 1990. It is an act establishing the Philippine National Police under reorganized Department of Interior and Local Government and for other purposes. Bit enacted by the Senate and House of Representatives of the Philippines in Congress assembled. So, Section 1, title of the act. This act shall be known as the Department of Interior and Local Government Act of 1990. And Section 2, Declaration of Policy. It is hereby to be a policy of the state to promote peace and order, ensure public safety, and further strengthen local government capability aimed towards the effective delivery of the basic services to citizenry through the establishment of highly efficient and competent police force that is national in scope and civilian in character. Towards this end, the state shall be bolster a system of coordination and cooperation among the citizenry, local executives, and the integrated law enforcement and public safety agencies created under this act. So, Chapter 1, Department of Interior and Local Government, Section 4, the Department of Interior and Local Government. To carry out the policies and purposes of this act, the Department of Local Government is hereby reorganized in the Department of the Interior and Local Government, hereinafter referred to as the Department in accordance with the provision of this act. Section 5, Powers and Function of the Department. In furtherance of the objectives of this act, the Department shall continue to exercise the powers and functions of the Department of Local Government, in addition to the powers and functions as herein provided. And Section 6, Reorganization. The department shall consist of the department proper, the existing bureaus and offices of the Department of Local Government, the National Police Commission, the Philippine Public Safety College, and the following bureaus: the Philippine National Police and the Bureau of Fire Protection and the Bureau of Jail and Management and Penology. And next, Republic Act 9263 on March 10, 2004. An act providing for the professionalization of the Bureau of Fire Protection with BFE and the Bureau of Jail Management and Penology BGMP, amending certain provision of the Republic Act number 1675, providing funds thereof and for other purposes. With enacted by the Senate and House of Representatives of the Philippine Congress assembled. Section 1, title. This act shall be known as the Bureau of Fire Protection and Bureau of Jail Management and Penology Professionalization Act of 2004. And number 2, Declaration of Policy and Principles It declared the policy of the state to maintain peace and order, protect life, liberty, and property, and promote the general welfare assistance for enjoyment by all people of the blessings and of democracy. Article 2, Section 5 of the Philippines Constitution. Moreover, it it recognizes the responsibility of the state to strengthen government capability aimed towards the strengthening of the very basic services to the citizenry, though the institutionalization of highly efficient and competent fire and services. Section 3, Organization and key positions of the BFP and BGMP. BFP and the BGMP shall be respectively headed by a chief who shall be assisted by two deputy chief, one for administration and one for operation, all of whom shall be appointed by the President upon recommendation of the Secretary of the DILG from among the qualified officers with at least rank of senior superintendent in the service, provided that in no case shall any officer has retired or retirable within 6 months from his or her compulsory retirement, each by appointed as Chief of the Fire Bureau, of Chief of the Jail Bureau, as the case may be provided further that the Chief of the Fire and the Chief of Jail Bureau shall reserve a tour of duty not exceed 4 years, provided however that in times of war or other national emergency, emergency declared by Congress, the President may extend such tour of duty. And Section 4, professionalization and upgrading the qualification standards in the appointment of uniformed personnel of the BFP and BGMP. No person shall be appointed as uniformed personnel of the BFP and BGMP unless he or she possesses the following minimum qualification: A citizen of the Republic of the Philippines, and B, a person of good manner, moral character, and C, must have passed the psychiatric, psychological drug, and physical test for the purpose of determining his or her physical and mental health. And D, must possess a baccalaureate degree from the recognized institution of learning. And E, must possess the appropriate civil service eligibility. F, must not have been dishonorably discharged or dismissal for cause from previous employment. And G, must not have been convicted by final judgment of an offense of a crime involving moral turpitude. And H, must be at least 1 meter and 62 centimeters in height for male and 1 meter and 57 centimeters for female, provided that a waiver for height and age requirement shall be automatically granted to applicants belonging to a cultural communities. And I, must weight not more or less than 5 kilograms and from the standards weight corresponding to his or her height, age, and sex. And 5, Section 5, appointment of uniformed personnel at to the BFP and BGMP. The appointment of the BFP and BGMP shall be affected in the following manners: A fire jail officer, or 1 to senior fire or jail officer for appointed by the respective regional director for fire protection and regional director for jail management and penology for the regional office uniformed personnel, or by respective chief of the Bureau of Fire and chief of the Jail Bureau for the National Headquarters Office uniformed personnel and attested by the Civil Service Commission or CEC. And B, fire or jail inspector to fire jail superintendent appointed by the respective chief of the fire and chief of jail bureau as recommended by their immediate superiors and attested by the CEC. And C, fire or jail senior superintendent appointed by the Secretary of the DILG upon recommendation of the respective chief of the fire bureau and chief of the jail bureau with the proper attestation of the CEC. And D, fire or jail chief superintendent to fire jail director appointed by the President upon recommendation of the Secretary of the DILG with the proper endorsement by the Chairman of CEC. And next, the Regional Rehabilitation Center for Youth. So, Regional Rehabilitation Center for Youth, the is a facility designed to provide intense treatment in a residential setting for the rehabilitation of CICL, whose sentence that have been suspended. It served as a nurturing outcome placement for children is needed of rehabilitation, while the RRCY provides institutional rehabilitation for CICL. Community-based rehabilitation programs are also being provided by the DSWD whether necessary. The RRCY links its center-based service to community-based programs or programs provided in the community setting developed for the purpose of intervention and diversion from formal court proceedings as well as rehabilitation of the CICL for final reintegration into his family and community. The support and participation of the immediate family and community is valuable. Hence, RRCY harnesses the community support structures outside of the family. Community structures are tapped or mobilized to contribute their resources to the treatment and the integration of offenders and strengthening their families. RRCY General Objectives: to render treatment and rehabilitative service to children in conflict with the law. In the Cordillera Administrative Region or CAR, to enhance their psychological and emotional and psychosocial well-being. Specific objectives: number one, assist the CICL in gaining insights into their behavior and attitudes to help them become more proactive and responsible individuals. Number two, redirect their behavior and aptitudes to help them become more productive and responsible individual. And number two, provide opportunities to acquire social occupational skills and improve self-image. And number four, provide activities that would help them develop trust for the other person. And target clientele. The target client of the ICL age of 15 years old, below 18 years and not more than 18 years old, male who have committed an offense and ordered by the court and to undergo rehabilitation at the DSWD facility. So, the DSWD will be the one who will cater the juvenile in order to rehabilitate them to be to make them more productive in the future. And CICL who are on the suspended sentence may upon order of the court undergo any of a combination of disposition measures appropriate to their rehabilitation and welfare. No child shall be admitted in any rehabilitation facility without a valid purpose or ordered by the court after a hearing for this. And programs and services. The RRCY provides a home environment and a group living arrangement with well-balanced, organized, and non-formal activities for CICL. Under these services, the RRCY rehabilitation team attends to the basic needs of the youth like food and clothing as well as referral for medical and dental care. The children in conflict with the law or CICL also given the opportunities to engage in generating activities so they could learn, earn, and save the nurture future. Specifically, CICL provide the following: treatment intervention. So, number one, counseling services. Number two, media therapy, behavioral modification, and therapeutic community. Support services and intervention. Social service, 24-hour personal help extended to the CICL in care of the RICY. This includes interventions that seek to restore develop social functioning of clients from admission to discharge and preparation for their integration to their families. Home life services. This exposes the clients a home-like atmosphere conducive to moral development. Educational services. This entails the planning and implementation of a comprehensive plan that provides its client the venue and opportunity for learning. And psychological services. It includes in-depth assessment and evaluation of child personality, and behavior using psychological evaluation and testing with partner agencies. Health services involve the provision of proper medical attention to clients, and recreational programs, developing a hobby or creative talent such as sports, singing, dancing, playing instruments serves as a coping mechanism and alternative activity and aims to foster feelings of competence, self-worth, and identity. Dietetic services, provision of proper nutrition and food to maintain good health among clients. Spiritual enhancement program, regular holding of religious and services. Presidential Decree Number 603, the Child and Youth Welfare Code. And next, the Presidential Decree Number 603, the Child and Youth Welfare Code. So, title, General Principles. Article 1, Declaration of Policy. The child is one of the most important assets of the nation. Every effort should be exerted to promote his welfare and enhance his opportunity for a useful and happy life. The child is not a mere creature of the state, hence his individual traits and aptitude should be cultivated to the most insofar as they do not conflict with the general welfare. The molding of the character of the child starts at home. Consequently, every member of the family should strive to make the home wholesome and harmonious place at its atmosphere and condition will greatly influence the child development. Attachment to the home and strong family ties should be encouraged but not to extent of making the home isolated and exclusive and unconcerned with the interests of the community and the country. The natural right and the duty of parents in the rearing of the child for civic efficiency should receive the aid and support of the government. Other institutions like school, church, the guild, and the community in general should assist home and the state in the endeavor to prepare the child for the responsibilities of adulthood. And next is the death row, also known as the condemned row, is a place in a prison that house inmates awaiting execution after being convicted of a capital crime and sentenced to the death. The term is also used figuratively to describe the state of awaiting execution, being on death row. Even in places where no special facility or separate unit for condemned inmates exists. In the United States, after a person is found guilty of a capital offense in state where execution is legal penalty, the judge will give the jury the option of imposing the death sentence of life imprisonment without possibly of parole. It is then up to jury to decide whether to give a death sentence. This usually has to be an anonymous decision. If the jury agrees on death, the defendant will remain on the death row during appeal and habeas corpus or procedures which may continue for several decades. And next is the role of writ of amparo, Supreme Court of the Philippines. Section 1. Petition for a writ of amparo is a remedy available to carry any person whose right to life, liberty, and security is violated or threatened with violation by an unlawful act or omission of a public official or employee of a private individual or entity. The right shall cover extralegal killings and enforce disappearances or threats thereof. Section 2. Who may file? The petition may be filed by the aggrieved party or by any qualified person or entity in the following order. Number 1. Any member of the immediate family, namely the spouse, children, and parents of the aggrieved party. Number 2. Any assistant, descendant, or collateral relative of the aggrieved party within the fourth civil degree of consanguinity or affinity in the default of those mentioned in the preceding paragraph. Or number 3, any concerned citizen, organization, association, or institution, if there is no known member of the immediate family or relative of the aggrieved party. The filing of the petition by the aggrieved party suspends the right of all other authorized parties to file similar petition. Likewise, the filing of the petition by an authorized party on behalf of the aggrieved party suspends the right of all others observing the order established herein. And Section 3. Here to file. The petition will be filed on the day at the time when the regional trial court of the place where the threat or act or omission was committed or any of its element occurred or with the Sandigan Bayan, the Court of Appeals of the Supreme Court or any justice such as court, the writ shall be enforceable anywhere in the Philippines. And Section 4, no docket fees. The petitioner shall be exempted from the payment of the docket and under lawful fees. By filing the petition, the court, justice, or judge shall docket the petition and act upon it immediately. Section 5. The contents of petition. The petition shall be signed and verified and shall allege the following: the personal circumstances of the petitioner, the name and personal circumstances of the respondent shall be responsible for the threat, act, or omission. Or if the name unknown or uncertain, the respondent may be described in any assumed appellation. Number 3, the right to life, liberty, and security of the aggrieved party violated or threatened with violation by an unlawful act or omission of the respondent, and how such threat or violation is committed with attendant circumstances detailed in supporting affidavits. Number 4, the investigation conducted, if any, specifying the means, personal circumstances, and addresses in the investigating authority or individuals, as well as the manner and conduct of the investigation together with any report, the actions and resources taken by the petitioner to determine the fate or whereabouts the aggrieved party or the identity of the persons responsible for the threat or act or omission. And 6, the relief prayed for. The petition may include a general prayer for others, just the equitable reliefs. And Section 6, issuance of the writ. Upon the filing of the petition, the court, justice, or judge shall immediately order the issuance of the writ of each phase in oath to issue. The clerk of court shall issue the writ under the seal of the court, or in case of the urgent necessity, the justice or the judge may issue the writ under of his or own hand and may deputize by any officer or person to serve it. The writ shall also set the date and time summary hearing of the petition, which shall have not be later than 7 days from the date of its issuance. And Section 7, penalty for refusing to use or serve the writ. A clerk of court who refuses to issue the writ after its allowance, or deputized person who refuses to serve the same, shall be punished by the court, justice, or judge for contempt without prejudice to other disciplinary action. And Section 8, how the writ is served. The writ shall be served upon the respondent by the judicial officer or by any person deputized by the court, justice, or judge who shall retain a copy on which to take a return of service. In case the writ cannot be served personally, the respondent, the rules of suited service shall apply. And Section 9, the return contents. Within the 72 hours after service of the writ, the respondent shall file a verified written return together with supporting affidavits, which shall, among other things, contain the following. Number 1, the lawful defenses rather to show that the respondent did not violate or threaten with violation the right to life, liberty, and security of the aggrieved party through any act or omission. Number 2, the steps of actions taken by the respondent to determine the fate or whereabouts the aggrieved party and the person or persons responsible for the threat, act, or omission. Number 3, all relevant information in the possession of the respondent pertaining to the threat, act, or omission against the aggrieved party. And number 4, if the respondent is a public official or employee, the return shall further state the actions that have been or will still be taken. And letter A, to verify the identity to aggrieved party. Letter B, to recover and preserve evidence related to the death or disappearance of a person identified in the petitions which may aid in the prosecution of the person or persons responsible rather. Letter C, to identify witnesses and obtains statement from the concerning date of the appearance. Number D, to determine the cause, manner, location, and time of the death, disappearance, as well as many pattern or practice that may have brought about the death or disappearance. Letter A, to identify the apprehend person or persons involved in the death or disappearance. And F, to bring the suspect offenders before a competent court. The return shall also state other matters relevant as investigation and decision of the prosecution of the case. A general denial of the allegations of the petition shall be not allowed. Section 10, defense is not pleaded deemed by waived. All defenses shall be raised in the return, otherwise they shall be deemed waived. Section 11, prohibited pleadings and motions. The following pleadings and motions are prohibited. Number 1, motions to dismiss. 2, motion for extension of time to file return, opposition, affidavit, position paper, and other pleadings. Number 3, dilatory motion of postponement. Number 4, motion for a bill of particulars. 5, counterclaim or cross-claim. 6, third-party complaint. 7, reply. 8, motion to declare the respondent in default. Number 9, intervention. 10, memorandum. 11, motion for consideration of interlocutory orders or interim relief orders. And 12, petition for certiorari, mandamus, or provisions against any interlocutory order. And that's the end of my report. Thank you and God bless.